The other day, or actually yesterday, I was about to put out a video that talked about profession traps. And I talked about this on stream just yesterday, saying, hey, here's some profession specs or some profession paths that might make you trapped. And we kind of encountered this a number of times in Dragonflight, depending on who you are. So, for example, back then, if you're trying to level up, and depending on your spec, you might run into, well, actually, I guess no matter what, you would run into situations where you're like, oh man, I can't level up anymore because the only thing that I can make are things that need crafting orders. And now, no one on my server is asking for crafting orders. The public order system is borked, and I'm screwed and I'm very upset, right? That happened, most definitely. Also, depending on how you specialize, like if you wanted to go for like this or that specialization, you might find yourself at like skill level 50 or so, and you're trying to get to skill level 75 so you can get to that third spec, but all of a sudden you again find, oh no, I can't level up any higher, because there's nothing else that I can make because I chose these things, and I can't even do the whole crafting order thing because, well, there's only one thing that I can make, and maybe it's a profession tool. So it made, the feedback on that was pretty loud and proud, to the point where Blizzard had just kind of nerfed the requirements to move to other specializations. It didn't entirely solve that problem. People still had trouble with the whole crafting order thing and trying to get their skill ups. And so there were like these small little things to push people along, not including the Darkmoon Fair, that quest that would come every month, and that would kind of suck. So lo and behold, just last night, I'm looking at this new build, and there's some huge, huge changes. I'm not going to go over all the professions. I'm going to mostly stay here on this screen here, but I'll show an example shortly, where basically what's happening is that you can put in far more. You can basically craft more stuff and still get skill ups. The time it takes for a recipe to go from red, orangish, to yellow to green to nothing, that threshold has been raised considerably, to the point where, and I did look at this on all the professions, pretty much every profession will let you get up to skill level 75 without even choosing a specialization. It's wild. So the recipes that you get from trainers alone will cover all of this. I think there's like one exception. I think it's jewel crafting that doesn't quite have it. Um, but it gets you pretty close. And there are, at least according to the recipe tooltips that tell you where things are, you are going to be able to get to a high level by getting recipes from like delves or whatnot. So it's very, very accessible. Here, let me show you, because I'm excited about this. So here's blacksmithing. Here's my favoriteest thing, right? And you can see my skill level. Okay, it's very small. I apologize. My skill level is 75, and you'll notice, like the way I was able to get to skill level 75 was through Iron Claw weight stones. They're slowly adding more requirement to the recipe here, but it's not exactly a hard thing to make. It's not exactly a crazy thing. This is just something that will raise your attack power by whatever for melee characters. But you can see here under specializations, you can kind of see it here. Sorry, I haven't learned a darn thing yet. And this reflects throughout all the professions. Now, of course, I want to remind you, folks at home and elsewhere, that this is the beta. Stuff is busted, stuff isn't working right. Like, for example, Inscription, I think I have it here too. Inscription is totally broken, or at least it's kind of broken, because the items that I need just to level up don't exist right now. Right now, it's asking for this purified water, which I cannot get from these beta vendors or whatnot, so I can't even level it up. So instead, I just kind of looked at the trainer here, and you can kind of see it here. Sorry for the things that are hiding. You can kind of see here that if I scroll mostly down, I learned these missives at skill level 55, and at least on other characters that I have leveled Inscription on, I've been able to level up to 75 just doing these missives wherever they are. So like these things here, which they cost resources. It's going to set you back if you wanted to really like try and power level your professions very hard, but you're able to get here without even choosing a specialization. So While this is not like, hey, here's how it's going to work now, let's not jump to that conclusion yet. But what I'm getting out of this, my takeaway here from the devs is that we're seeing the intention of their vision. We're seeing that they're paying attention to what it is that they're paying attention to this whole skill up problem that people have been having in Dragonflight. So maybe it isn't going to be this easy to get to skill level 75 without even choosing a specialization. Maybe that's a step too far, and they're going to start walking it back as we see future builds. But we do see that the devs are paying attention to this very, very big concern that players have had. And at least so far, maybe they're overcompensating and the pendulum will kind of swing back in the other direction. But this is good. I like this so far. I like what they're trying to do here, and it gives me a lot of reassurance that eventually we're going to land in a pretty good spot, to where maybe we would need to like have specialized in like one thing within these specializations, and then something in here within these specializations will give us like what we need in order to get to those higher levels. That part is a bit tougher because not all specializations work like that. Like, so for example, if I were to choose, sorry, I'm not going to get very detailed here, but if I were to choose Ever-Burning Forge and Means of Production, there aren't a whole lot of recipes that give me access to higher level skills. One of the exceptions would be like this Sanctified Alloy, I believe, which is one of the skills that you get from Means of Production. So maybe they're going to make this particular recipe into a higher level skill that is going to let people level up to like 75 or so without needing to, and then they'll be able to spec to like the last specialization here. It would be cool if they were to simply lower the requirements and just make it so that, just like in later parts, early Dragonflight, you needed to get to skill level like 50, 75, and 100, just like how it is now. The pushback or the complaints about that was pretty loud during Dragonflight, so they lowered those requirements for to 25, and then 50, and then 60. They lowered that, and then 75 to unlock that final specialization, depending on your profession. Still though, this is kind of a ongoing development. This is where we're at right now, but at the moment, between these new kinds of requirements as well as NPC crafting orders, which aren't enabled yet, unfortunately, it spells it's starting to create this like much better environment, notably for like the solo crafter who just wants to make things for themselves, but also anyone who's just trying to dive into professions, and they won't and it seems like, while it's still going to be possible to make mistakes, like, oh, I want to make flasks and flasks aren't working out, and oh no, I regret this, I should have spec'd into potions. That's still probably going to happen, but at least spec'ing into like one tree over the other, it seems like they want to attack that and make sure that at least whatever choice you make, you're not going to feel stuck. So I know I didn't really like show much, but I'm just kind of describing the intent here. But I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. Please leave one wherever. Like the video, subscribe for more stuff, and I'll see you guys for the next thing. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.